Tragedy in Eastern Europe. A jet carrying nearly 300 people is reportedly shot down over Ukraine. We have the latest details. This is News Channel 12 at 5. Good evening. I'm Wes Goforth.
And I'm Valentina Wilson. Investigators are making their way to eastern Ukraine, where a Malaysia Airlines plane crashed this morning. The 280 passengers and 15 crew members on board are all believed to be dead. ABC's Marcy Gonzalez has the latest.
And State Department officials say they are still looking into reports that there may have been Americans on board. Live in New York, Marcy Gonzalez, ABC News. Now back to you.
We will continue to follow this developing story. Our fact check has more information on the plane crash. The plane was a Boeing 777-200ER. It was delivered to Malaysia Airlines in July of 1997. That's according to Flight Global's Ascend online fleets. It's had about 7,000 takeoffs and landings. We continue our coverage of this plane crash from a local perspective.
Right, Val. We went to Pitt Greenville Airport today to visit to get you some more info about what the Malaysia Airlines pilot might have seen and heard from the cockpit just before noon our time today. Going to the airport to find out what it's like to be in the cockpit of a commercial plane like Malaysia Airline flight MH17. Now, the experts we talked with say that newer aircraft like the Boeing 777 have many available options for radar and tracking systems, but there's no way of telling what kind of tools this specific aircraft might have had. They also added that commercial pilots aren't usually trained to look for missile strikes, and in a plane that big, it would have been difficult to see or hear anything coming. We spoke with the operations manager at Pitt Greenville, Garden Roll, about what he had to say.
Your field of vision is pretty much what's in front of you. You're not going to be able to see anything that comes up behind you, and I know there's still speculation on how this aircraft went down. If they were shot from behind, he probably didn't have any indication.
Mr. Rolls, a former Marine, he said the only aircraft he's ever known to have missile warning systems are from the military. And be sure to tune into a special World News Tonight with Diane Sawyer report right after News Channel 12 at 6. That coverage will begin a 1-hour special at 6:30 tonight.
Maybe a terrible tragedy.
A passenger jet with 295 people on board crashing this morning in Ukraine near the Russian border.
So right now, we're working to determine whether there were American citizens on board. That is our first priority. And as a country, our thoughts and prayers are with all the families of the passengers, wherever they call home.
We have the latest facts on the passenger plane shot down in eastern Ukraine. We're following the latest developments, trying to find out who shot that plane down and what happens next. Welcome to News Channel 12 at 5:30. I'm Brian North.
And I'm Jamie McCutcheon. That Malaysia Airlines passenger jet crashes in Ukraine today near the Russian border. U.S. leaders have concluded the plane was shot down.
It's not yet clear who shot that plane down, but here are the facts we know about the crash. The plane was flying from Amsterdam to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. The plane lost contact with air traffic controllers over eastern Ukraine. The plane was a Boeing 777 and held 280 passengers and 15 crew members. Here is Tori Dunnan with the latest facts.
The Malaysia Airlines flight crashed in eastern Ukraine on Thursday.
Now we continue to get reaction about the plane being shot down.
News Channel 12's Avery Harper headed to Pitt Greenville Airport to find out what airport officials there had to say about the crash. Avery joins us now live in our Greenville newsroom with what she found out.
That's right. I talked to aviation experts and airport officials to find out what it might have been like for the pilot in the cockpit.
Like something hit it from outside, blew it up, and it fell directly down.
A passenger plane shot down over eastern Ukraine. 295 people on board, all believed dead.
As a country, our thoughts and prayers are with all the families of the passengers, wherever they call home.
The plane crashed near a battle-stricken border. Ukraine and Russia tonight, both assigning blame. It's still unclear what brought the plane down. The only evidence, the burning wreckage scattered over a wide area. Many questions remain, like the possibility of U.S. citizens on board. We get the latest details. This is News Channel 12 at 6. Good evening, I'm Valentina Wilson.
And I'm Wes Goforth, and that Malaysia Airlines flight that went down today was traveling from Amsterdam, Holland to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. U.S. officials have confirmed the Boeing 777 was shot down, but it's still unclear how. Malaysia's Prime Minister says the jetliner did not make a distress call before it went down.
Ukraine's president is calling this an act of terror, and Russia's president says Ukraine bears responsibility for the crash. Tensions between Ukraine and Russia have been tense for the past 3.5 months since Crimea broke away from Ukraine to join Russia.
And of course, those new sanctions yesterday on Russia. We have a live report now from ABC News with the latest details on the crash. Here's ABC's Marcy Gonzalez.
Malaysia's Prime Minister claims the pilot did not make a distress call, as Vice President Joe Biden says it appears this crash was not an accident.
The fiery moment of impact.
Officials say they are still looking into claims that there may have been Americans on board. Live in New York, Marcy Gonzalez, ABC News. Now back to you.
For the latest information on this developing story tonight, be sure to tune into ABC World News tonight for a 1-hour broadcast with expanded coverage of the Malaysian plane shot down. That's coming up right after News Channel 12 at 6. Now, in tonight's Fact Check, we did some digging into other passenger planes that have been shot down. In April 1978, a Korean Airlines flight from Paris to Seoul strayed over the Soviet Union. It was fired on by an interceptor aircraft, and 2 of the 97 passengers on board were killed by that fire. In September 1983, another Korean Airlines flight was shot down over Soviet airspace. All 240 passengers and 29 crew members were killed in that one. And in July 1988, an Iran air flight was shot down by a surface-to-air missile from an American naval vessel. All 16 crew and 274 passengers were killed.
We talked to local aviation experts who say newer aircrafts like the Boeing 777 have many available options for radar and tracking systems. They also added that commercial pilots are not usually trained to look for missile strikes, and in a plane that large, it would have been difficult to see or hear it coming. The operations manager at Pitt Greenville Airport, Gordon Rowell, describes what it's like for pilots.
Your field of vision is pretty much what's in front of you. You're not going to be able to see anything that comes up behind you, and I know there's still speculation on how this aircraft went down. If they were shot from behind, he probably didn't have any indication.
Rowell is a Marine. We know he is not with the Marine Corps right now. He says the only aircraft he's known to have missile warning systems are from the military.